Well, Nez, let's talk about that penalty shootout. We would talk a lot. There was a lot of, again, referee controversy, not just in England with the Aston Villa-Chelsea game, but in other leagues as well. So we'll have a fair share of referees' decision to analyse and everything. But in this game, there's one really before the Saka goal, so before the Arsenal's second goal, when Kulusevski is in the box and Trossard is defending and there's a bit of a contact, to be honest. There is contact, a bit of a trip, and then Kulusevski tries to stay on his legs and then ends up falling over after making a pass to Maddison. The referee and VAR didn't think there was enough, apparently, to give the penalty. Where do you stand on those? Because Trossard doesn't change his line of running, and Kulusevski goes in front of him, and yes, there is a bit of a clip from the hill, really.
Yeah, I think you won't find many people say that there wasn't contact, but I think the difference in opinion comes for, like, do you think it's a penalty or not? Yeah. I think some people are saying, well, if he went down early, maybe it would have been. But the fact is he still went down. So I think the referee's acknowledged that there has been contact.
Yeah.
I don't think he believes that all of a sudden Kulusevski's legs have just given way in general. But for the way that referees try and do things at this moment, especially around penalties, is they're trying to say that not all contact is going to be a penalty. So you can see it. You can see that it has some sort of impact. But if they went through a phase where they said every bit of contact is a penalty, that incentivise people to get in the box and just seek contacts all the time, and there'd be way more penalties given.
Yeah.
So I think according to how they're doing it, how the referees are seeing things, I see why they didn't give it.
Yeah, I agree.
I think if I was a Spurs fan, like, you know, some of our close friends and ESPN colleagues are, then I could see why you'd be frustrated, especially looking back, knowing that that's such a big moment because it leads to a goal. But I don't think those ones would be given probably for the rest of our lives, to be honest.
Do you think the fact that it doesn't go down straight away?
Nah, I don't think so. Because
in a way, the contact is soft. Otherwise, he goes down. If the contact
it knocks him off balance.
Yeah, but not enough
Yeah.
for him to fall, because he can still run and still pass the ball to Maddison and then he falls.
Yeah, but the fact is he still falls. So
True,
I think the referee will look at it and know that something's caused him to fall. And you know what I mean? So he's seeing the contact. And even if he gets clipped and he falls late, it could still be deemed to be a penalty. The referee would have said to his video assistant referees or to the players on the field, there's contact, but he would have said, that's not enough for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think, as I say, the frustration in those moments, and this is when you feel wronged and you start drifting down rabbit holes, is when you then watch the other team go and score down the other end. Because that decision goes from being a missed decision, which could have benefited you, to one that's now benefited the opposition, to where you're now 2 goals down.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
Because after this incident, this get-together, let's say, Arsenal recovered the ball with Declan Rice, and then in 2 passes, Rice to Havertz, Havertz to Saka, they scored that goal.
Yeah.
I mean, the pass from Havertz, at that level, you expect him on his strong foot as well to hit that pass.
Well.
I think.
Well.
The control is amazing from Saka.
Okay. Let me put it this way, yeah. So this season, I'll be honest, I'm tainted because I'm of a Man City persuasion. And I remember being in Porto watching Havertz score the winner in the Champions League final.
Yeah.
So from the start of the season, when people say he's no good, I'm like, well, I don't necessarily believe that, yeah? And he was playing week in, week out. And people were like, what does he do? He's a waste of time, this, that, and the other. And a lot of those people had to walk back all their opinions. Or in fact, they're not walking them back. They're trying to imagine they were never said.
Yes, true.
Some people, commentators, distancing themselves from things. Really strong opinions they had in the fact.
Yeah, saying that.
Not even...
He was mocked, some people say.
He was a joke. But now you see his impact in terms of, say, his target plays, link-up plays, finishing. Like, he's doing really well. Lo and behold, Kai Havertz, the German international, is playing really well. But I think from a Spurs perspective, the turnover on the edge of the Arsenal box, maybe he could be more aggressive trying to slow it down. And then the ball that Havertz plays to Saka is great. But from a defensive standpoint, how's he had that much time to be able to play the pass?
Unbelievable.
And if he's got that much time, I think that's when you need to be on high alert. Like, Saka is running down the right-hand side and he's basically free.
Yeah.
I think Spurs, in fairness to them, they're trying to get people to run back. But if they look back at that situation, they want someone to get to the ball, someone to know where Saka is. It doesn't necessarily need to be Davies. It just needs to be someone.
Yeah.
Because then that ball's not on. And I think if you apply pressure to Havertz or any player in that position, they'll turn back because they know they're outnumbered. It's like 2 versus 6, and then it ends up with somebody scoring in your goal.
But we've said it before, all season long, this Spurs team is great to watch and it's very entertaining, and they attack and they attack and they attack. But in terms of balance of that team, there's been an issue from day one, pretty much, that Postecoglou himself has never been able to fix or to even address. After the game, he said, you know, on set pieces, in transition, we were not good again. He said, even himself, he said again. What do you mean again, bro?
Yeah.
You've been here 8 months now. On July the 1st, you started, and now we are in almost the 1st of May, and your team still concedes those goals that we've seen them conceding all season long. Set piece, I don't understand. Transition, okay, it can happen, but for them, it happens. They commit too many players forwards, and then they get done.
You know, I think at times as well, though, like, it's not necessarily even about the amount of people that commit forward. It's about the nature of the people who are still back. Because as you look back at that goal, they had a numerical advantage, but there were 2 players for Arsenal.
Yeah, but that's what we said. It's rest defense. So you're prepared to defend even when you still have the ball.
Yeah, it's disappointing. As I say, as I look back in my mind, it's such a bad goal to concede, especially in the way that they did it. Because they're pressing, trying to score. And then it's like at 2, the game's basically done. And are we going to talk about set pieces? Or?
Yeah, after. But first, you as a former defender.
Yeah.
Imagine you're Ben Davies in this game. So Udogie is injured now. Davies is coming on. He's played more as a centre-back, really, in the last 2 or 3 years of his career than a left-back. But he's a left-back by trade. Good player against maybe the best right winger in the league this season. And he knew, like all of us, that once Saka got into that box, one-on-one with him, that Saka would come back inside onto his left foot to shoot the way he did.
Yeah.
So if you're defending on Saka, like Ben was, like how do you... I know he goes 100 miles an hour, so it's hard to think. But he must have been waiting for Saka to do that.
Yeah, as soon as the ball got played in, you're looking at it, you're like, Ben Davies is on an island here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's him versus Saka. And I think Ben himself, this is an international player, extremely experienced and so on. What killed him a little bit, and then I work back from there, is that he slipped.
Yeah.
There's a little slip in there that makes the difference. But he knows Saka wants to go on his left. In fairness to Saka, Saka can also go down the right.
True, but naturally...
More naturally, want to come inside. But I think Ben probably could have done more to just oversell that right side.
Yeah.
Like at times, make it so that the winger would never think of coming inside because you're just waiting there. And I know from a fan's perspective, it would look weird. But what it helps is the goalkeeper, because now the goalkeeper can set themselves because they know the shot's going to be coming from somewhere wider.
So you almost like put your body
way more to coming from Saka's left-hand side. Way more.
On your right.
Like it almost looks stupid.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, again, for Ben, due to the type of ball that Havertz played and such that Saka had from that moment, the danger is at times from when someone takes a touch, you can't continue to get closer. And I think that's a problem. That's why some of the best moments you'll see defending-wise, when a switch of play comes, the defender leaves early because they know the moment someone touches it, you can't continue going forward because you're going to sell yourself. But for Ben, I don't think he played that bad. I think Saka's the better player in that matchup by a good way. But that's no disrespect to him because it's Saka, you know what I mean? He's one of the best players in the Premier League in Europe and so on. But I think he'll look back on that. He'll know he could have done something differently. And in those moments, that's what can define a game at any particular time.
Before we talk about set pieces, attacking and defensive ones, we talked about Kai Havertz and the impact that he's having. Certainly, I think in the last 12 league games, he's got 12 goals or 13 goals involvements between goals and assists. Pretty remarkable. On the other hand, the other playmaker really for Spurs was James Maddison in a game where you would have wanted him to deliver, and his set pieces were good, like 2 or 3 of them, but he also disappeared quite quickly and got subbed off again really early in this game.
Yeah, he did get subbed off, and I've spoken to a few Spurs fans about this since yesterday, and it's, in my mind, I think he's a really good player.
Yeah, I mean, he started the season so well.
Exactly, but then I also see a game for Spurs where it's more physical, more high intensity, whereby I wouldn't necessarily even start him, which seems crazy in my mind. I thought Kulusevski overall in that maybe 20 minutes he was playing in the 10 did a better job than Maddison did overall. Because at times I thought Arsenal were probably a bit too big, too physical for Maddison within central pieces. Like I think the set piece and stuff were great, the movement around it was great. But it seemed like the sort of dynamism and energy changed when he got on the ball. I think at times, obviously, you want that level of control and have less chaos as such. But yeah, I think he'll look back at that and he'll be hugely disappointed. I think did he not score in the first game between these two teams, or he must have assisted or done something.
Yeah, in the 2-2 he does an assist for Son, I think.
Yeah, so like he's a very good player. This is an England international, but I thought when Spurs needed a greater sense of urgency and dynamism, I don't think it came through him. But then what's the best version of Spurs? Is it a Spurs that has him in the 10 or someone like a Kulusevski who will get it into space and maybe be able to drive and be a bit more physical with it?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, the way he started the season, I thought, okay, they found his way. He was involved in everything, sometimes even dropping really deep to get the ball and to get the game flowing for them. And then the injury happened, which I think 3 months off like that, at that time of his season, the momentum he had was a massive blow. And I don't think he's been the same since the injury, since coming back.
Do you know, he hasn't, but then you can make a case that Spurs haven't either.
It's true, they haven't been great in 2024.
You know what I mean? I think, and since he's come back, things have changed a little bit, because now, say, you might start a game with a Werner out wide, you know, Son through the middle, you've got Johnson on the right, you've got more sort of options in that sort of front 3-4.
Yeah.
And maybe some of the rhythm as such has gone. But I think when the subs are going to be happening in that game, it felt like it was going to be more natural to take him off, which is a huge shame for him. But if you're going to say now, Son is pegged on the left, Richarlison's playing the 10, and maybe Johnson on the right, perhaps.
Yeah.
I think Kulusevski, like, even though he doesn't necessarily have in my opinion, the passing quality of a Maddison,
For sure.
he's got more impact because he's like, just feels a bit more sturdy to me.
For sure. Spurs is the second defeat in a row after the one at Newcastle 4-0 in the league, where they're fighting for that 5th place, 4th place. As you mentioned, again, they conceded on set pieces. Okay, the first goal is...
No, we can discuss that as well.
Yeah, it's Højbjerg. Yeah, it's Højbjerg on goal, but the ball is put in the perfect area from Saka. And same is the second one for Havertz in the 6-yard box, which Spurs can't defend. And I haven't been defended well all season long. We talked together yesterday. The Nathan Ake goal for City in the FA Cup final, in the FA Cup 5th round or whatever it was, in December, is the same goal as the one Havertz scored.
Yeah, absolutely is. And so Vicario's done well for Spurs this season, and he's liked almost universally by the Spurs fans. But I think the ease in which somebody standing in front of him can disrupt him, I think is a huge issue, because at times you'll see it happen and you wonder, well, maybe make an adjustment. And in the second half, they made an adjustment.
Yeah.
But you could see, like, Arsenal want to have that set piece which goes right under the crossbar and put all their big bodies in there. So you need a big presence in there, and you need someone that's not going to be sort of disrupted by somebody that comes and stands in front of them.
Like White, White was the one.
White did it the whole game.
Yeah.
And in fairness to Ben White, he timed it well, because he'd be blindside, then he's in front, then he's away. So the goal's got too much to discuss. But in that sort of time, traditionally, you'll have a defender that will come and stand, not on keeper side, but on the other side of that attacker. Because then at least they can go and head it. Like the first goal from the Saka set piece is a good corner, but firstly, Højbjerg is on the wrong side of the play.
Yeah.
Because he's leaning over towards his left to try and head a ball. If you were to be defending a corner, that's an in-swinger.
Yeah.
You want to be leaning the other way to head it away.
Definitely.
That's the first issue. So setup-wise, I think they probably were half a yard out on that. But then the Havertz one, Havertz heads the ball in the 6-yard box, talking 2-3 yards out, completely free. A goalie, that's their sweet spot.
Yeah.
If the goalie can't get its hands to something like that, then something's fundamentally wrong.
I agree.
And I think Arsenal really played into that.
Yeah, I agree. And we've said they've been very good on set pieces all season. I think that was their 21st and 22nd goal. Like not penalties included. So excellent work. And I said it all the time. Nicolas Jauvert, their French set piece. Why are you rolling your eyes?
No, I'm not rolling my eyes. Nobody asked, but please carry on.
Nico, French, I love you dearly. Incredible. But this Spurs team won't progress like they should. Whether they make top 4 or not this season, won't progress until they sort out these issues. The transition when they're far too exposed, the set pieces, whether you sign another defender, whether you structurally defend differently, whether you hire another set piece coach, I don't know, but something has to be done, because it can't happen like that so much, and clearly nothing is being done enough, certainly, to prevent it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you can see their potential, which is a great thing, but then when you don't get the points on the board to almost represent it, that's the disappointment.
Yeah.
I think we can see times where we can see them scoring 2, 3, 4 goals, but then other times when you see them losing like 4-0, like they did to Newcastle.
Yes.
Like Newcastle, you can see they're a good side, but they weren't having a great season. So I didn't expect that game, for example, to be a 4-0. Didn't expect them to be 3-0 down in this game. Didn't expect them to, like off the back of beating Villa at Villa Park, to collapse. But this is some of the issues and stuff that they have, I'm sure Postecoglou's seeing them. I'm sure he's going to have a real look at the squad and the plan in the summer. But if their season peters out, given how strongly it started, because I remember a point around January time where Postecoglou, in the same way that Ten Hag is saying to all the media, you guys are a disgrace for what you said about us being Coventry. I remember Postecoglou getting frustrated because people weren't saying they were part of the title race.
Yeah, you remember? Yeah.
Listen, they're currently 20 points behind Arsenal.
Yeah.
So something's gone wrong at that point. If you believe that you are as good as these teams, then these issues have to be addressed. Otherwise, you will, as I say, be UEFA Cup next year or Europa League rather.
Where does this leave Spurs in that fight for top 4? So they are 7 points behind Villa now, I think.
2 games in hand, yeah.
Yeah. So
I think you need the points on the board at this stage of the season, because if Spurs get in, it means that Villa have dropped points somewhere, but Spurs also have to play Liverpool. They also have to play City.
Yeah.
I don't know the other fixtures, but if they win those 2, fair enough. That's Liverpool. That's beating Liverpool at Anfield. Fair enough, but it's not looking good, to be honest.
Yeah, if they want to get that 4th place, they will really have to earn it by, like you said, winning those 2 games against Liverpool.
At least, but the thing is, for them, you could picture a world where they do that, but because of the season they've had, it'll be the other games which we don't even know whereby they'll drop points.
True, that's true.
And that's the issue.
They have to play Chelsea, for example, in midweek this week, which is one of the games in hand.
Yeah,
and then I think they finish at home to Sheffield United. So this is a far more winnable game.
Yeah,
yeah.
Against Championship Sheffield United.
Sheffield
you
United.
think they would do, yeah.
For Arsenal, where does this leave them? I think they put pressure on City, who was playing after away at Forest, and City did the job. We will talk about that a little bit later. I have to say, this Arsenal team has been really good for the second season in a row. Still surprised me in a way to still being able to, even when things are not going great, like the knockout of the Champions League and the defeat against Villa at home, which I think was a bad one to consider at that time of the season. They're still there, and they can.
Yeah, they're right there. The downside for them is that they're looking for City to drop points. Because for me,
which might not happen.
If, according to how they're currently playing, and obviously yesterday, they weren't fantastic, but they found a way.
Yeah.
In a derby. Like the derby is the great leveller up and down the country around the world.
Yeah, we saw Everton and Liverpool.
Exactly. If Arsenal were top now and they play the same amount of games as City, I'd believe Arsenal are going to go and win the league.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even bat an eyelid. I'd say it's almost certain because of the way that they're playing. But then there's something just a little bit off, because how could this team that found a way to win a North London derby, that destroyed Chelsea, how could they go out to Bayern over 2 legs?
Yeah.
It doesn't. I was convinced they were going to beat Bayern. Obviously, this is more for me. I was convinced they were going to beat them because of all the stuff that led to that game.
Yeah.
You look at the way that they can adapt within games, the fact that Arteta can pick and choose the team based on whatever the needs are for that moment, whether it's going to be pushing on one of their strengths or pushing back against the opposition's weakness. I think he's fantastic at that. And I think they're in a position whereby I don't think they'll drop points between now and the end of the season.
So they could finish on 89 points. If they won the last 3 games.
Could literally finish on 89, or even for them, another scenario that could play into their hands is if City draw again, because their goal difference is so high, that could be them winning the league.
Yeah.
But the fact is they're still looking for City to drop points, which, at some point, when it's bizarre. We're talking ourselves into Arsenal.
No. But so City's games are Wolves at home on Saturday, then away at Fulham the following Saturday.
Yeah.
Then Saturday they play Tuesday next at Spurs, so they will have 2 games in London, and then they finish at home to West Ham. Yeah. When Arsenal have Bournemouth, United, and Everton, so 2 home games and 1 away, and Spurs and City have 2 home, 2 away.
Yeah. You could, as I say,
could it go down to the last game of the season, do you think? Like the City West Ham?
I think it will. I don't think the title's done before kickoff on the last day of the season. I don't think it's done. But the scenarios about who's going to win are going to be the thing which are quite interesting. Because say if City drop points and it's like a goal difference thing going into the last day of the season, like some people that say City are boring, try and tune into City versus West Ham, because every attacker that's available in Manchester will be playing. But again, you just have to see what comes next. I think a lot of people somehow and are looking for United to get a result against Arsenal. And you could talk yourself into it, but you could also talk yourself more easily into like a 6-0 win for Arsenal, because they're just a better team.
Yeah.
But this is the business end of the season. You always, like, City, for example, could have dropped points yesterday against Forest. They could have done. They're lucky that some of their finishing wasn't there, but then they're also really good because they kept a clean sheet and they scored the goals they needed to do. But it is going right down to the wire, and it also feels weird now, finally talking about Liverpool not being in it.
I know, yeah, it's a 2-horse race now.
Yeah, just like that. Unless miracles happen, it's definitely a 2-horse race. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting for sure.
Very exciting.